It's my great pleasure to have today Karen Malkin, health coach extraordinaire, joining me to discuss why it's important to have a personal health coach. So please join us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you, Dr. Jaffe. Thanks for having me on.
So what is this business of health coaching? Why should we have a whole profession of certified health coaches?
Health coaching helps the client, patient create health promoting behavior changes. So physicians only have a certain amount of time with their patient, right? So if you're meeting with your patient and there's cardiovascular disease or type 2 diabetes or some sort of environmental toxins that they have to deal with, and you direct them to, lose 20 pounds, maybe you can reduce some of your medications, you know, eat a healthier diet, start exercising. The health coach helps with the how of it. So the physician will diagnose the what, the condition, and the health coach takes them through the how am I going to create these changes. And with coaching, it's a partnership. And so I meet my clients where they're at and we upgrade from there. So we start with creating the vision. What's most important to you in your life? How do you want to show up? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Wave your magic wand. Let's create this real vision for yourself. And then we're going to talk about these 7 core areas of your health. Rate yourself from your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your spirituality, your connection to yourself, your environment, your sleep, your stress, your stressors are very important. And so I help them make these small changes that are going to move the needle forward. And we just do 1 or 2 changes every week or 2. So we check in, what's going well, what's not going well, because setbacks happen and actually they're kind of good because then we can talk about what did you learn from that setback? What didn't go well and how can we tweak that again next time? So I try to love them up, accept them for where they're at, and set some goals based on what they want to accomplish. And then I help them get there by making small changes.
I think many people feel helpless and hopeless and don't have a guide.
Mm.
If you're encouraged, if you're able to listen to someone who listens to you and really cares about you, that encourages you to stay the course. In our
Mm.
studies of diabetes and fibromyalgia, one of the important things was that we got together every week or 2 so that people could ask their personal questions and have the group support them. Today, what you said is absolutely correct. Doctors typically have 10 to 15 minutes at most with patients. And very often they don't live a healthy lifestyle yet themselves. So if the doctor says lose 20 pounds and you say, well, doctor, you're 20 pounds overweight too, he doesn't want to hear that because it's easier to preach than practice. We want to enable the practice.
Mm.
We don't want to judge. It took a long time to get here. It's going to take a few months to get well. It is kind of magic how powerful nature, nurture, and wholeness really are. Drink less fruit juice, eat more berries and whole fruit. Just one simple change can make a big difference. And I often encourage people to have fruit, more healthy fruit, and less processed food.
Do you like your
Less
patients to wear GCMs, the continuing glucose monitors, so that they can track what I eat and what the impact is on their blood sugar?
I suggest that that works very well for some people who really want to know the moment by moment changes. But it turns out that most of the time when your sugar goes up, it's because of either added sugar in the diet that's hidden in the foods, or more importantly, an immune reaction that causes your blood sugar to go too high, and then your insulin comes out and you get a crash, and then you get encouraged to have more of that ultra-processed food. For many people, hemoglobin A1C measured every 3 months. It's the average sugar stuck onto the protein called hemoglobin. You can also measure fructosamine. Paul Gallup, a mentor of mine, introduced this test in 1968.
Mhm.
It's an all-cause morbidity mortality marker, hemoglobin A1C. Blood sugar is important. Blood sugar insulin is important, but it turns out to be even more predictive to keep your hemoglobin A1C at about 5%. Not get it down to 7, which is what medications can do, but actually get it to 5. And for full disclosure, many years ago, I lost 65 pounds. I had been gaining 3 or 4 pounds a year for many years. And I decided it was now time to practice. My hemoglobin A1C measured every 3 to 6 months has been 5 for a number of years.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
It's attainable. I'm an example, but I'm also a consumer. I happen to be a scientist and a doctor, but I'm also a consumer. And yes, these choices about what you eat, drink, think, and do are powerful. Learning to breathe under stress, using a green light to stimulate healthy pineal pituitary hormonal actions. There are many examples of things you can motivate, inform, and inspire people to take action around. Not just know in general that this is a good thing to do, but does it matter for me? That to me is where the health coach is invaluable.
Thank you for endorsing health coaching. I just think it's so powerful and it's so empowering for the client to make these changes. They feel so good when they've made these small changes and they start seeing results in their A1C coming down, in their weight coming down, in their mental clarity. They feel focused. Their skin feels like my skin's glowing. And it's really, really powerful. So, yeah, I just think that, we could all really benefit from health coaching. I had when I got my master's in coaching, I had a coaching group and I learned myself through my study, doing my own coaching that, I wasn't really making day-to-day choices that are in alignment with my big picture on really how I want to show up in life and what's most important to me.
I think one of the most powerful things that happens is that as you encourage other people to get healthier, you notice things about yourself that could be a little healthier. And yes, if you radiate good health, if your skin, hair, and nails are lustrous and vibrant, I can talk about renewing you on the inside, but when you can see it on the outside, it's even more
Hmm.
effective, motivating. I think most of us want to function and feel younger than our chronology. I am a big advocate for youthful longevity, and within that arena, coaching is just so important.
Hmm. Really helps. I like to meet my clients where they're at and just love them up. And I'm their biggest cheerleader. We make changes, and if there's a setback, we embrace it and talk about what's going well, what's not going well. And it's amazing. You can have a completely different life in 6 months when you make
Yes,
these small
in a
changes
few
every 2 weeks.
months, in as soon as 6 months, you can
Yeah.
change the trajectory of your life. The
Hmm.
probability of suffering and surviving goes down, and the probability of thriving and engaging more youthful patterns emerges. The good news is that at any age, you can renew your body. And the oldest part of you is probably your bones. That's about 10 years that they renew every 10 years. Large joints about every 7 years. Much of you is new from a few weeks ago. And many people believe that aging is inevitable. Decline is common, but not inevitable. And among others, I have specialized in working with people who at 100 were functioning at 40, and especially a subgroup that first got sick, then recovered, and never looked back to go back to the unhealthy suffering. They, at 80, 90, 100, or more, were showing all the signs of good health. My dad at 90 was measured from stem to stern for a variety of reasons, and his cardiovascular and heart fitness was that of a 40-year-old. He had no calcifications. He did not take any medicines, any prescriptions, but he was active, he was joyful, he ate whole, and he took his supplements.
Amazing. I want to drink your Kool-Aid.
Please do. We have a book coming out on Bhante, this Cambodian Buddhist monk who I had 30 years with, and who at 106, we measured him from stem to stern also. I put all the data in front of him. He looked at all the data and he said, 40, that's a good age. He was 106 years of age, but functioning like a 40-year-old.
Amazing.
It's possible. It is amazing when you see how many people just slowly decline today. It seems miraculous or just good luck. No, it's what they did, how they thought, what they ate, and what they drank. It's very important to have good hydration, to drink amply so that you probably pee about every 2 hours while you're awake. But much of the beverages that we have, I would not touch. If they have added sugar or if they come in plastic, I just say no.
No.
We happen to have good well water, deep aquifer well water. That's an option. But getting healthy water today is increasingly difficult. I just saw an international conference on the fact that fresh water is disappearing and drinkable water is disappearing.
It's horrible. You know, there's a resource. I serve on the board of the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, and you can just key in Google search EWG.org/tap water database, and you key in your zip code and it'll give you all the contaminants that are in your water. And it's pretty shocking when you think that you're living in a safe place. And it also gives you the health condition that's associated with these contaminants. And they also provide suggested filters that can filter out those contaminants. So many innocent people aren't realizing like the water that they're drinking is harming their health.
Such a good example. You can measure your tap water with what's called tap score or any other good quality
That's a good one.
source of information. And yes, EWG, Environmental Working Group, I am constantly learning from EWG. I'm constantly communicating with EWG aware leaders like yourself. And I'm glad to report that I think we're making great progress. I think more and more people are giving up on the old, outmoded, mechanistic, reductionistic model of healthcare and engaging in a new kind of back to the future approach with primary proactive prevention.
Absolutely.
It is the time. We have all the indications that we have been harming ourselves inadvertently, but we have been harming ourselves, and we should start helping ourselves.
I agree. I mean, so many people just don't even understand the indoor air quality problems that we have with mold in the ducts. That's what I do in my coaching is we talk about their environment. What are your exposures? What are your symptoms when they're suffering from asthma and allergies? We talk about their air quality. You know, when was the last time you had your ducts cleaned? Is there mold in your home? Do you open up your windows? Do you have carpeting everywhere? And then wearing your shoes inside the house. Those with young children, babies live just inches off the floor. So if you're keeping your shoes on, just taking your shoes off is a huge upgrade.
Have outdoor clothes and indoor clothes.
Exactly.
Take your shoes off, take your outdoor clothes off, put on indoor clothes. You can dramatically reduce the harmful chemicals you're bringing into the home that everyone else gets exposed to, especially young people. And from my point of view, it's essential to have plants in the house that help clean the air. To have an
Chlorophyll.
ULPA filter or perhaps one of these molecule electrostatic zappers that remove, not just reduce, they remove the particles in the air. Yes, I think the fact that so much harm occurs so slowly and so invisibly needs to be brought to attention. people need to be aware that outdoor air is always better than indoor air. And if you can't bring fresh air in by opening the window, try an air-to-air heat exchanger that brings fresh air in and conserves the heat. So there are attainable, attractive solutions when you understand. And for full disclosure, in 1983, I did the first indoor environmental quality report for the state of California under the first Jerry Brown administration. It was called Clean Your Room. It identified 18 topics in the built environment that desperately needed to be addressed, and they still do.
Yeah, yeah. It's even, cleaning supplies, personal care products, just ditching fragrances is going to have a huge upgrade.
One of the things I admire about you and EWG is that you have suggestions of healthy personal care items. It's one thing to say, well, you have too much phthalate or too much glyphosate or too much corn antigen or too much this, that. But what are the healthy alternatives so that I can choose easily and wisely?
Exactly.
And EWG does a great job.
They do.
We all can benefit from collectively healing our environment and our individual persons. Common Wheel with the New School and the Rachel Naomi Remen treatment program and the Regenerative Design Institute. In the early 1980s, Bhante the monk and I did silent 2-week Vipassana mindfulness courses at Commonweal when it was first opened. And Michael Lerner and I have been friends ever since. I think if you look to EWG or to the New School, or perhaps to our online or YouTube channels, Dr. Russell Jaffe, you can find guidance that's highly relevant to you and will save your life.
Yeah. These resources are just so helpful.
But it's hard today to find the helpful resource when there's so much marketing noise. I don't pay attention to commercials. That's a choice that I make. When I watch a cable, I have an ability to exclude commercials. I'm willing to pay a few dollars to not be propagandized by because they don't even consider themselves food companies anymore. They're packaged goods companies. And I've worked personally with Quaker Oats, General Foods, Kellogg's, a number of them. And if you compare the European foods that they produce with the American foods that they produce, America is getting the hindmost. We continue to have potentially toxic chemicals. In Europe, they have what's called the cautionary principle. They will anticipate harm and therefore block harmful chemicals, and they have healthier people because of it.
We're the opposite. We put everything on the market and then get sued.
Well,
the ketchup.
And we wait until enough scientific studies are emerging to reach a scientific consensus. That was fine in the 1900s. In the 21st century, that's too late.
Yeah, I mean, there are rules. You can't put red dyes in ketchup like you can do here at McDonald's. So they don't even have the same foods, really, because they have different laws.
Foods. They have long shelf life packaged processed items that look like food, but they're not nutritious. They are addictive, and you should just say no to anything that comes in plastic, or actually most things that come in cans. I like food that I get from the perimeter of the market where I can actually pick up the carrot or the cucumber. And by the way, I want carrots without E. coli, of course.
Of course.
And it is possible to make healthy choices if you get some guidance about what to do and what to change. Because probably, for example, if you buy marinara sauce today, it has enough sugar in it to qualify as dessert. I make marinara sauce at home from tomatoes that come from our garden. We don't have a front yard. We have a permaculture biodynamic food forest.
Love that.
200 edible foods and a dozen and a half bearing trees. And yes, the squirrels get their share, but we still get enough.
Wonderful.
So I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, for leading the whole transition towards health coaching and towards healthy living. So my hat's off to you. If I had a hat, I do have a hat. And my hat's off to you. And I want you to continue for a long time to be my friend and to do what you're doing, making us all healthier.
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe, and thank you for the work that you're doing to help inspire and create change in all your patients and just our community and world.
For all of us.
Thank you. Be well.